Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. There are moments in life so small they look ordinary, a shared coffee, a wry smile across a crowded table, and then there are moments that feel like the hinge on which everything else turns. For Vince Panaro, the hinge came slowly, in the slow burn ache of afterglow and fallout that follows reality television fame. He had left the Big Brother house as a finalist, a man whose warmth and contradictions made him both adored and dissected. Weeks after the finale aired, the bright lights had dimmed, only to be replaced by the hush and flash of paparazzi, the whispers of talk shows and TikTok threads. And in that residue of public curiosity, Vince found himself steering through the hard private work of repair. On the morning the first photos surfaced, Vince felt the pressure like a weight beneath his ribs. Malibu light filtered through the cafe's frontage as he waited, hands tucked into the pockets of a casual jacket, the busy hum of Los Angeles a soft, distant roar. He had not slept much. The last few weeks had been a carnival of interviews, appearances, and endless replays of moments he would have preferred to forget. Inside the house, everything had been amplified: closeness, confessions, the intimacy of people pressed together under cameras, and everything he'd said or done now echoed in the court of public opinion. When Kelsey arrived, there was no cinematic embrace. No triumphant, film-worthy moment. She walked up with a small paper bag of groceries, hair pulled back, the expression on her face carefully composed like someone who had practiced neutral for months. For Vince, seeing her felt like a double exposure, the warmth of memory layered over the recognition of damage. They had been together for years before the cameras took him away. They'd built rituals, late-night takeout, laugh-too-loud movie nights, the kind of shorthand that people only ever accumulate in long relationships. But the Big Brother house had been a pressure cooker, where boundaries dissolved and feelings bled into each other. Kelsey's quiet presence that morning suggested the endurance of history, but the tears that came later in the car hinted at how fragile it had become. Gracias por venir, Vince said in halting Spanish, an awkward attempt at softness that felt natural to him. Kelsey's eyes flicked up, and for a beat the two of them shared an old joke, the kind of small private signal that had survived tougher nights. But when they sat to talk, the smiles thinned. They ordered coffee and sat by the window like two actors working through a scene without a script. Kelsey, he began, and the name had both reverence and apology in it. I know everything that's been said. I know how it looked. She inhaled and let out a breath that was half laugh, half sob. You were in a place where we couldn't reach you, Vince. I found out things from strangers, from a live finale, not from you. The wound wasn't simply that she had been kept in the dark. It was the slow erosion of trust, small omissions that piled up into suspicion, the easy intimacy with someone else under impossible conditions, and then the cascade of conversations and whispers when the world saw the footage. It's one thing to be imperfect in private, it's another to have your flaws amplified on a loop. They talked for hours, or perhaps it was a single hour stretched thin with detail, the why and how that anyone who loves someone asks when they stand on the edge of losing them. Vince told Kelsey about the confusion of living in a space that forced closeness, about the ways habit and performance bled into one another. He tried to explain the tenderness that had developed with Morgan Pope inside the house, the late-night talks and the shared vulnerability, and he owned the ways those moments had been careless, even if he insisted they had not been calculated. Kelsey listened. When she spoke, her voice was careful and carefulness felt like its own kind of armor. It's not about what happened inside, she said finally. It's about what you didn't tell me. It's about the quiet that came after. The meeting, as the tabloids later wrote with the gleam of cheap ink, was emotional. But that term flattened the complex shades of the afternoon. There was anger, yes, and there were tears, but under it all was a raw, tremulous attempt at mutual understanding. The two of them walked through the rituals of a life they'd once shared, a stop at a convenience store, the way Vince fumbled with a bag of chips and laughed at himself, the memory of a time they had gone to a drive-in and slept in the back seat. Those small acts were not reconciliation by themselves. They were fragments, test runs of the trust they might, if both cared enough, rebuild. Outside, photographers lingered like gulls. A video later posted online captured the end of the afternoon, Kelsey and Vince stepping out of the cafe, an awkward but affectionate hug, a last look that could be read as resolve or resignation. Fans rushed to social media, some relieved, some skeptical. The comment threads read like an ongoing jury. They have history, one fan wrote. You can see the love. But how do you forgive being left in the dark? Another replied, he seems different. Maybe he's grown. The internet, as ever, declared itself judge, jury and audience. If the reunion was a soft, uncertain clearing in a forest of rumor, Vince's next public moment was a wholly different kind of image. Him behind the wheel of a candy apple red vintage Camaro, grinning like someone who'd temporarily reclaimed a bit of joy. A friend had lent him the car for the afternoon, and the sequence of photos, Vince climbing in, his parents admiring the gleam of chrome beside him, the wide smile as he eased the car into motion, became the counterpoint to the more intimate footage from the cafe. For a moment, the tabloids wrote, he was carefree. For some, the Camaro looked like escapism. For others, it was harmless, a guy enjoying a borrowed toy between rounds of PR. The resulting narrative was messy, as all real lives are when public and private collide. Meanwhile, Morgan Pope, the fellow housemate whose connection with Vince had been singled out throughout the season, had stepped into a wider frame. In her wake came the kind of visibility that reality TV can't help but grant: interview invites, brand interest, offers to participate in other shows. But visibility can cut both ways. Morgan accused Vince, through friends and then in public statements, of misleading her about the status of his outside relationship. I felt betrayed, she said in one early interview. I was told one thing and found out another. The accusations were as much about hurt as about anger, and they underlined how messy the emotional topology of the season had been. And yet, neither Kelsey nor Morgan, nor Vince, seemed willing to consign the matter to tidy certainties. The three of them, in different ways, faced the hard fact that life with television is not a single story. For Kelsey, the betrayal needed to be repaired, brick by careful brick. For Morgan, the path forward might mean embracing the opportunities the newfound platform offered, while reckoning with the very public nature of private feelings. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Reality Radar for more Big Brother and reality TV news. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.